Hello and welcome to Monday's Granada Reports. We are live across the northwest.
Yeah, good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. Here's what's coming up on tonight's programme.
Victims of extreme violence in their own home. The parents left scared to be alone with their own children.
I've been held up against the wall. She's ripped my clothing. She's punched me in the face. She kicks. So I've had bruises all down my legs.
We'll back you to the hilt. The government promises to support car manufacturers after Trump's tariffs. But will it be enough as Merseyside's Jaguar Land Rover pauses shipments across the Atlantic?
I've got to do whatever I can to make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else.
Racial injustice laid bare on the cobbles. We chat to the actress at the centre of the latest hard-hitting storyline.
The 90-year-old showing these youngsters you can do anything at any age.
And we don't need to be jetting off on holiday to bag some fine weather. The warm, dry spell continues. All the details coming up.
So please do stay with us. But first tonight, to the parents in the northwest crying out for help.
Yeah, they're the victims of extreme violence in their own home and at the hands of their own children.
Child-on-parent violence is more than just naughtiness, and it's a growing problem with a 70% increase in referrals seen in the northwest over the last few years.
Some of those parents have chosen to speak anonymously to Granada Reports, telling us they're scared to be alone with their child after being punched, kicked and continually attacked. Jennifer Buck has their story.
This house looks like any family home, full of toys, games and love. But it is also full of violence from a child to her parent. It's hard to watch as the 11-year-old girl bites her mum's arm. She is neurodiverse with ADHD and additional needs. This is part of her violent and uncontrollable rage.
You are not biting me!
That point there, she's gone past any reasonable thoughts.
And why did you feel you needed to video these things that were happening?
Because I don't think, unless you hear it, that you believe it's happening.
This Merseyside mum has been the victim of child-on-parent violence for years, behind closed doors. How bad has it got, the violence, at its worst stages?
My sister has come in to hit the house as I've been held up against the wall. She's ripped my clothing. She's punched me in the face. She kicks. Kicking with her shoes on is one of her things as well. So I've had bruises all down my legs.
I ended up curled in a ball in the corner of our utility room whilst he kicked and punched and verbally assaulted me. He did it for over an hour and only stopped when he heard my husband's car pull into the drive.
This mother from Cheshire is another parent suffering domestic violence at the hands of her child. Her son is believed to have suffered trauma before being adopted at a young age. He has no additional needs, but at 13 is a continual threat.
He picked up a wooden chair. He was trying to smash the window. He would then, he broke a picture frame. He threatened to cut himself, but said actually what he wanted to do was to kill me with it.
Both women have been sent on parenting courses and say they feel blamed for their children's behaviour. That
level of anger from a child, you don't want to admit it to other people because you feel like you failed. It's embarrassing. You know, the amount of comments I've had of people saying, I'd never let my child talk to me like that.
We literally bounced from organisation to organisation trying to seek help, and when you do that for months and months on end and nothing's forthcoming, you give up. Even when the police were involved, he would just laugh it off and say, well, I'm still here, so obviously nobody is going to do anything about it.
Figures from Parental Education Growth Support, or PEGS, who offer help to parents, show a 70% increase in referrals to their service. In Greater Manchester and Merseyside, it's gone from 10 referrals in 2023 to 50 last year. In Lancashire, it went from 19 to 54. But in Cheshire, where the group has been targeting their training, referrals are the highest, from 67 to 151. Sefton Women and Children's Aid is one of the few domestic abuse groups in the North West to have a specialist team dealing with child-on-parent violence, and it too has seen an increase in the demand for their services.
You have to educate professionals to recognise it and understand that it's not just naughty children and it's not a parenting issue. There are other issues. So it's about, and also educating the parents, and that's what our programme would do.
Now, I know every family is different, but is it possible to talk about the causes of this violence in the home?
There could be an element of domestic abuse between parents, or there has been in the past, and it's a symptom of that, or they've witnessed issues. So it could be learned behaviour and things like that. It could be other issues. Sometimes there's neurodiverse reasons for that. There's some children that've got additional needs, so that could come into what's going on. It can be a number of things. It could be that they're struggling at school and being bullied outside of the home, and that's the only place that can come out, because to them it's a safe place.
These mothers are continuing to fight for awareness for their children and for their own safety.
I love him so much, but I'm scared of him.
She's a very easy child to love, but not an easy child to like sometimes. But yeah, I have to be there for her, because if I'm not, who will be?
Jennifer Buck, ITV News.
Oh, such a heartbreaking situation, and thanks so much to the mums for sharing their stories with us. A little earlier I spoke to Dr Alison Blanchard, a personality psychologist at the University of Salford, and I started by asking her why we're seeing a rise in child-on-parent violence here in the North West.
But I think we're living in a much more complicated world now. I think there's many more triggering factors that go on, and so I think if you're in a situation where you're not able to maybe manage your emotions, inhibit particular actions, then you're more likely to get frustrated at certain things. I mean, obviously this ties into neurodiversity, more cases of that as well, and we know that children with those disorders are less able to manage their emotions. So it's a mix of many things happening at this time.
And are you worried that the figures could actually be a lot higher? Because obviously, as we heard in Jen's report, some parents may feel embarrassed that their child is behaving in this way.
I think it's probably difficult to discern where just normal challenging behaviour starts and stops and where it starts leaning into something a bit more challenging and difficult. So there's expectations that a child will, test the boundaries and that type of thing, but then sometimes it will go beyond that. So I think parents are doing the best that they can, and they don't want to talk about it because it is embarrassing, or they feel that they're failing as a parent. Parental failure is a big incentivisation to not talk about it. So yeah, I think there will be many more cases that we don't hear about.
There will be some people watching this that says, I would never allow my child to behave that way. How much does discipline play into this issue?
In these cases, it doesn't make any difference, and I think that's really important to remember. When a child becomes that unmanageable, nothing you can say or do in that moment will change that child's behaviour. Anybody would find it challenging to deal with.
So if there are any parents watching this who can identify with some of the issues here, what would be your advice to them?
So it's about acknowledging that there isn't a failure of parenting, that they're doing everything they can, but it's beyond their capacity as people, and they need additional support, and there's no shame in that, but they need tailored intervention. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. Anybody who is a parent knows that each child is individual and comes with their own profile and the way that you need to interact with them. So it's about reaching out to the right people who can give that tailored support and advice and guidance, and for them not to feel bad or ashamed about that.
Yeah, it's really incredibly challenging issue, and some great advice there. Thanks so much, Dr Alison Blanchard.
Thank you.
Well, if you've been affected by this issue or want to know more about the help that is out there, just head to our website, itv.com/Granada.
Well, next, and the government has insisted it will support car manufacturers, promising firms will be able to export in the wake of Donald Trump's tariffs.
Yeah, it comes just days after Merseyside's Jaguar Land Rover paused shipments to America after a 25% tax was placed on foreign vehicles.
Well, in response to the president's tariffs, Prime Minister Keir Starmer said he would back JLR, who are building electric cars in Halewood, to the hilt.
Our political correspondent, Leisha McNally, is in Westminster for us now. And Leisha, what does the Prime Minister mean by this?
Well, this is the government's attempt to provide the car industry with some kind of shelter from the economic storm that's gathering over its head. That 25% charge on all imports into the USA. Now, car manufacturing in the Northwest is big business. Jaguar Land Rover employs around 3,500 people in Merseyside alone. And it's jobs like that which the government will desperately want to protect. Today, the Prime Minister explained how he plans to do that by easing the sector's transition into making electric vehicles. Now, a long-announced plan to ban the creation of new diesel and petrol cars by the year 2030 will still go ahead, but the fines for breaking those rules have been dramatically cut and the money will be reinvested into the sector. And crucially for manufacturing in the Northwest, it was confirmed today that hybrid cars won't be banned until 2035. Speaking from a Jaguar Land Rover factory, the Prime Minister said we've entered a new trade era, but pursuing net zero was still the right road to growth.
I believe that British car companies should be at the forefront of the electric revolution. This is the race that we belong in. And so I think EV targets are a good thing. They're good for the climate, good for business certainty and investment, good for British manufacturing. But I accept those targets have to work for British manufacturers.
Now, the political reaction to these changes is incredibly wide-ranging. I think that shows the scale of the challenge facing the country right now. On the one hand, you've got the likes of the Liberal Democrats and the Greens who say the government isn't going far enough to boost electric vehicle production and that cutting these fines is a step backwards both for climate change and for clean air. But on the other hand, the Conservatives say the government's going too far, that net zero by 2050 is an impossible target for an already battered car industry, and that's a thought echoed by the leader of Reform UK, who was out on the campaign trail in Runcorn today.
Whatever we think about the planet, ultimately it's the consumer that makes these decisions, and I think we're heading into a very bad place, and if we don't save the car industry, China will take it over. Now, what has happened in America does not help. You know, Jaguar Land Rover in this part of the world, etc. It does not help. But if any country can negotiate its way out of this, it's us.
Now that, of course, is a waiting game while any possible trade deal is worked out. Meanwhile, Jaguar Land Rover have suspended all shipments to the USA, like the rest of us, watching to see if any other economic shocks are headed our way.
Leisha, thank you.
OK, let's take a look at some of more of the day's news now. And an inquiry into the Southport murders has formally begun, looking at what lessons can be learned from the attack. It will establish what happened in the lead-up to the stabbings and look at the wider issue of young people being drawn into extreme violence. Axel Rudikabana was jailed for a minimum of 52 years after he killed 3 girls at a dance class in July last year.
Meanwhile, a man who used bricks from walls he destroyed in Southport to attack police officers has been jailed for more than 2.5 years. 22-year-old Nicholas Mullen from Wigan was sentenced today at Liverpool Crown Court for his part in violence that broke out in the wake of the Southport stabbings. He was seen on CCTV throwing bricks towards a line of officers who were tackling disorder on the 30th of July last year. It brings the number sentenced for their role in the disorder in Southport and in Liverpool to 130. And a reminder that on ITVX right now we have a poignant interview with the daughter of our late presenter, Tony Morris. Natalie talks to us about grief and her bid to encourage people to be more open. To find us, just go to the ITVX app on your smart TV, your phone, or online. You can click on categories and then news and scroll down. And along with our latest programmes, you can also catch up with exclusive content and some of our best stories. That's all available on ITVX on demand.
And it is a lovely chat with Natalie indeed.
Yeah.
OK, now to a young actor who's doing incredibly well on Coronation Street since she joined the cast almost 3 years ago.
Yeah, Shanique Sterling Brown's character, Dee Dee, won Best Newcomer when she first began, and today it's been announced that she's been nominated for Best Performer at the Soap Awards next month.
The storyline she's portraying at the moment is highlighting racial injustice when it comes to maternity care. Our entertainment correspondent, Caroline Whitmore, headed to the street for the backstory to this important subject.
Well, we're here on Coronation Street, Shanique, in the sunshine.
Finally.
Yay! It's been nearly 3 years since you've been on the street. Dee Dee's really cemented herself in Weatherfield now, hasn't she?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like, the beauty of getting to play Dee Dee is that when you have a character who befriends the characters the audience already love, they're like, great, she's my friend now too.
I just feel quite wrong. Welcome to motherhood. Nothing seems to be out of the ordinary, I don't think.
And I don't know whether to congratulate you that Dee Dee has had a little girl, because in true Corrie style, it's not all gone to plan.
No. She's diagnosed with preeclampsia. It's a late diagnosis by this point, and so it's quite critical because she's not turning pale. She misses the fact that she's bleeding out and hemorrhaging. She's had to have an emergency hysterectomy because of this.
The underlying storyline here is the racial injustice in maternity care. How did you feel when that was kind of brought to the table?
It's a huge story, and I was really keen to play it, I think. Also, the conversation around, you know, how understaffed and underfunded our NHS is, I think is really important. As we sort of go through the story, we'll see more about how Dee Dee's failure to be diagnosed was directly linked to her skin colour. It was a story that is big, but I'm really proud to be a part of it.
It should never have happened. OK, and I am not doing this to get revenge or to punish anyone. I've got to do whatever I can to make sure it don't happen to anyone else.
We've got to work with some brilliant charities. Birthrights, the Motivational Mums Club, and 5 Times More were wonderful. They, you know, advised us on this story. We got to discuss lived experiences.
One of the statistics that stood out for me was birthright. That was quite shocking, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's that black women are 3 times more likely to die in childbirth and pregnancy in the UK. That's a really terrifying thing. It's very survivable. We've been doing it for centuries, haven't we?
Yeah. Were you shocked by those figures?
I was, but I kind of have known about this for quite a while. I remember first hearing about this when Serena Williams gave birth and Beyonce, and they both had quite traumatic births. And we were having this conversation, me and the producer, and obviously I know they're both American, but I was like, arguably 2 of the richest, most influential black women in the world have had these traumatic births. So what hope does that kind of leave for the rest of us?
Are you sure? I'm sure.
I really felt for Dee Dee. She's had to have an emergency hysterectomy, so she no longer can have children, but she's allowing her brother to adopt her little girl.
Yeah.
Now, tell me that's going to change, because my heart goes out to her.
Personally, think it's good that she decided to stick to her plan.
And she's going to be the best Aunt Dee Dee ever, isn't she?
Exactly.
Oh, goodness me.
She's that auntie, isn't she? So
she
she's
is
the fun
that auntie,
auntie.
yeah. And I think it's just great that you and the programme can hopefully make change.
Yeah, definitely. I think far more unites us than divides us. So it's all about how we can. Looking after one of us looks after all of us, I believe. So
you're so good at them sayings. I'm trying to remember them.
We should represent as a nation, and hopefully this story is something that helps people start to think about that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Shanique.
Thank you.
So good to see that Corrie is highlighting such an important subject.
Yeah, and as Corrie's #1 fan, it really is a very moving storyline.
Yeah, it certainly is. OK, let's have a look at the ITV Evening News and have a look at what's coming up next. Here's Lucretia.
Coming up on tonight's Evening News, turbulence and turmoil for global markets following Trump's trade tariffs. Also, the formal launch of the inquiry looking to what lessons can be learned from the Southport murders. And behind the scenes with Sir Elton for his latest and most challenging album to date. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Well, let's take a look at sport now. And Manchester United fans made their voices heard at the derby, Chris.
Yeah, considering their place in the table, a draw with Manchester City, not the worst result for Manchester United, but their fans had more important complaints than the scoreline alone.
Fan culture is dying. You know, the atmosphere is dying at Old Trafford. It has been for a while, but what they seem to be doing is the club seem to be systematically targeting these match-going fans. I understand why, because they pay slightly less for a ticket. I get that, but they're destroying everything that Man United is all about.
Of class, but it's not United, it's the people, you know. The people is, we are so exposed, the people who's now in the screen, in the world football, managers, owners, and football players especially, is honestly, I don't know, understanding the mind of the people.
We are in the moment that we are doing the worst season in history. Manchester City won everything in the past. This season is struggling, so we are not in the best moments to give the best spectacle to every fans.
Now to the title race, and Arne Slot says there's no danger of complacency creeping in for Liverpool.
So much effort, so much hard work to win games of football, combined with quality, of course. But yeah, the team that won the league the last 4 seasons were already 3-0 up at half-time every single game almost they played. And that's not the way it is for us.
So, Liverpool's 7-month unbeaten run in the league is over, but Burnley are still going strong 5 months since their last league defeat. They climbed above Sheffield United to go top of the Championship thanks to a 2-1 win at Coventry City. Preston North End's 1-1 tie with Stoke City was their 18th draw of the season. In League One, Bolton Wanderers are still in the playoff places after their 1-0 win over Bristol Rovers. Stockport County remain comfortably in the top 6 after their 2-0 win at Exeter. Blackpool were beaten, but Wigan edged a point closer to safety with a goalless draw at Leyton Orient. In the League Two survival scrap, Tranmere moved 7 points clear of the drop zone thanks to a 4-0 thrashing of Chesterfield. Relegation rivals Accrington and Morecambe both lost, as did Fleetwood and Crewe, but Barrow were 3-0 winners at MK Dons, while Salford City were held to a 2-2 draw at home by Gillingham. In Rugby League, Warrington Wolves will face Lee Leopards in the Challenge Cup semi-finals. After Lee beat Wakefield on Friday, Warrington beat their old rivals St Helens by 20 points to 12 in their quarter-final. The winners of their clash with Lee will face either Hull KR or Catalan Dragons at Wembley in June. In cricket, Lancashire's first game of the new county championship season is heading for an exciting finish. They were set a final day target of 309 runs to win in their second innings against Middlesex. They're currently 240 for 6, Marcus Harris scoring 52, so they need 69 runs to win with 69 balls remaining.
Getting that winning feeling. FOW, sponsor of the Granada Sport Report.
Finally to rugby union, and no European quarter-final for Sale this year, but it could be worse. You could be the paratrooper who caused a 40-minute delay to the Sharks game in Toulouse when he got snagged on the roof of the stadium. He was supposed to be delivering the match ball. Instead, he had to be rescued by firefighters. Yeah, and Sale went on to lose in Toulouse, so full-time probably wasn't worth hanging around for.
That poor guy, he's never going to live that down.
He's not going to live it down with his mates, is he? They'll bring it up every week.
Thanks, Chris. Now, at 90 years old, I know we would no doubt be struggling to get up and down the stairs, but the thought of cycling over 600 miles across France definitely wouldn't be high up on our to-do list, would it?
Yeah, but that is exactly one great-grandfather from Lancashire is doing in a couple of weeks' time. Tony Newton's not letting his age get in the way of his epic ride, which will see him raising thousands for a youth centre in Chorley. Tim Scott went to meet him.
A guard of honour and a big thank you from the children at Inspire Youth Zone in Chorley. Tony Newton is about to embark on another fundraiser for them, cycling over 600 miles coast to coast across France. And it's all the more impressive because Tony is 90, yes, 90 years old.
You're 90 years old. Has anybody said to you, you shouldn't be doing this?
Not to my face. The people who know me, they know it just flows and comes on, you know, and you don't start walking up the esplanade, really. It's easy.
Easy to say, but then Tony has been a fitness fanatic all his life. This is a man who carried his daughter to the church on her wedding day and dressed as a cycling elf to meet his great-grandchildren at Christmas. He even tried some Keep Fit with the children at Inspire.
I didn't know anything about Inspire at all, but what an organisation it is. It's just gobsmacking, really, what they do for children.
Tony raised over £10,000 for Inspire last year, cycling around Scotland, and the kids and staff here are grateful he's tackling France for them this time around.
I think it's really nice, taking up his time, and it's probably been really hard for him to cycle this way. It's an amazing honour to have him fundraising for Inspire.
I think it's absolutely amazing what he's doing, and at the age 91, it's absolutely brilliant. I couldn't do it, so I am in awe of Tony.
Tony's trek across France from the Atlantic to the Mediterranean starts on April the 14th. We wish him the very best of luck. Tim Scott, ITV News, Chorley.
Oh, we're all in awe of Tony, aren't we?
He looks good for 90 as well, doesn't he?
He looks amazing.
Here's Emma with the weather.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello there, hope you've had a good start to the new week. It is looking very dry out there, as we can see. We could do with a splash of rain. Not great for growers, but the dry spell continues. It's been going on for such a long time now. Warm days and chilly nights on the cards too. And we're doing pretty well for sunshine so far this month as well. So we are only a week into April. We should be running at 20% of the average monthly sunshine hours. However, we're already up to 40% of the average. The top 2 years for sunshine hours are 2021 and 2020, closely followed by 2015, which came in at 211.8 hours of sunshine. So we shall see what happens. But for the foreseeable future, high pressure is in charge. Even when this high disappears, it's replaced by high pressure from the north, which sweeps in some more moist weather from the east. However, even that doesn't really get across to us. And that happens for Wednesday for the eastern side of the Pennines. But for the western side of the Pennines, we're sheltered and fine and sunny. In fact, it looks like we've forgotten to put any data on the graphics because there's nothing happening. There's not a dot of cloud in the sky there, and so you can see that overnight, clear skies, some patchy frost developing and maybe some patchy mist and fog in places as well, and only light winds, and it's light winds right the way through for the foreseeable future too. Sun's up tomorrow, 6:28, so a bit of a cold, bright, chilly start to the day. And as you can see through the afternoon, very little happens just by these light green colours. Wall-to-wall sunshine, temperatures slightly up on today's values, around 17 Celsius at best, that's 64 Fahrenheit, 12 for the Isle of Man there. Again, a bit frosty overnight as we head into the rest of the outlook period, but then it's really rinse and repeat as we go through the next few days. That's it. Bye-bye.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Delightful few days ahead. That is all for Granada Reports. I'll be back with a late update after news at 10.
Yeah, hope you can join us. Until then, whatever you're up to, enjoy that last bit of sunshine and have a lovely evening. Thanks so much for watching.
Bye-bye.